So, Bigpod,
What?
just letting you know, Graphene OS did not last very long on my phone. And
So
it's,
what are you using now?
I'm back on the stock Android ROM for the Google Pixel 7. Now,
Oh,
uh, there's a reason for this. And it's a very stupid
really?
reason. So,
What?
for like my day job, not the plastics company, not like this show or anything like that. We have to use this employer mandated app for clocking in and out for the time clock. And
Yeah.
because it's a phone app, it uses GPS to make sure it knows where we are when we do this.
Huh.
Now, it's only available through the Google Play Store. So, and it
Okay.
requires the Google Play services, which
Yeah.
Graphene OS can supply, but it runs those in a sandbox.
So no access to GPS.
No, oh, it's stupider than that because it does have GPS access.
Then what doesn't have?
So, the app does support logs, right? So I can look at the
Yeah.
logs and I can see and it says GPS detected on device. And according to the log, when I hit the clock in or clock out button, it bounces back saying GPS location not available, GPS location not available, and it checks this every 2.5 seconds.
Oh.
Now, it times out it times out after 15 attempts, where it comes back with an error saying that, hey, GPS location cannot be found. So I did
Huh.
some digging into this with, just simply opening Google Maps and hitting the little homing button on Google Maps to pull up your GPS location.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that Google Maps by default will connect to the available time server first.
Yes.
So that's where it will show you, and then it will immediately go to your GPS location. Now, how did I find this out? Because I think this is due to the sandboxing. There's a delay on the GPS compared to Google Maps. Because Google Maps will pull me to the United K right there in London. And then after about 10 seconds, then it'll pop up to my little spot in Ohio.
Huh.
So I'm thinking that because of that delay, the application is timing out.
Interesting.
Right? Now, I did
Yeah.
make sure to mention this in the Graphene OS Discord because I haven't found a bug tracker to mention this on. I haven't gotten any responses on it yet, so maybe.
Of course.
Maybe it's something that they're potentially aware of, but they could also just simply tell me, hey, we're not going to fix this because GPS works for everybody else, and honestly, I'm not going to spend the time to figure out like this whole timing issue because we might just be doing it for security reasons, which totally fair. But
Yeah.
because of this, I can't use Graphene OS. I have to use the stock ROM.
Huh.
So, no increased privacy for me on my phone. Darn.
Cue the music.
Hey guys, welcome to No Tux Allowed. I'm your host, Josh. And today, I'm wearing once again a white shirt. And this white shirt also just has a random hole here on my right shoulder. So I'm sorry it's going to bother you guys on the video. You'll just have to live with it because I'm not willing to change shirts just to record an episode of the show. But of course, we've got Bigpod here, who's wearing this
Hello.
wonderful. Yeah, your shirt says Mount Everest. So I have an honest question for you, Bigpod. Because people just tend to ask this, but what's your Everest today?
What?
Oh, you don't know that phrase? Oh, so
No.
the idea is that it's apparently challenging to scale Mount Everest. So what was your day?
Yes.
What was your challenge for the day?
My challenge for the day. Huh. Waking up.
Of course, I think a lot of people have that. The easiest way to make sure that you can wake up early is to go to bed early too. Food for thoughts,
Yeah.
people.
Didn't help me.
Yeah. So, just to let everybody know, we're going to change up the formatting of the show just a little bit. So I'm sorry, but we need to talk about money first of all, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so we're trying, some ways to like do a couple layout changes with the show here. Mostly for like viewer retention on YouTube. Just to be a little bit transparent on that. But it is getting a little bit more important these days that we get a little bit of support from Patreon as well. Uh, our audience has been growing, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that hey, we're doing this show the hard way. In fact, if you're watching our show or listening to our show from a podcast application, rather than YouTube, uh, you're going through our self-hosted network to be able to download that episode
Yeah.
because everybody syndicates from us. So when you download the episode or even stream it, it's coming from us. Not quite my closet. We're not there yet, but we'll get there eventually. And yes, we actually will, Bigpod. Don't worry, I'll give you SSH access.
That's
so
not the problem for me.
so yeah, well, so obviously we're doing this the hard way, and the hard way is not free. It's affordable, yes, but it's not free. So just don't be afraid to go to our patreon.com/, no tucks allowed, and just give us a couple dollars there. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, even if it's like $1, that's better than nothing. And honestly,
Yeah.
like it tells us that you find value in the show that you're about to listen to. That
Yeah.
said, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't give us money right now. Watch the show first, see if you actually like it. And of
Yeah.
course, if you guys want to help, I believe I've said this before, but the best form of advertising for a podcast, because I have considered looking at like doing like that whole internet advertising thing, and it's like I just don't feel like doing that. The best form of advertising for a podcast is word of mouth. If you enjoy the show, mention it to your friends. I'm sure that there's a group of you guys that have a couple friends that love technology, right? And
Yeah.
you guys just want to listen to an American and a Slovenian and just talk about things.
And if you want to share it online on forums, Discord servers, or any other kind of community, you're welcome to do it.
Yep.
If it's according to the rules of the server, of course.
Which most of the time, as long as it's not me or Bigpod mentioning, that people should watch the show,
Yeah.
that is typically allowed. Because if
Yeah.
Bigpod or I hop on like a random Discord channel and go like, "Hey, y'all should check out this hot new show called No Tucks Allowed. It's only about a year old, but it's amazing and great. You should all listen to it," and then provide a link to it. From Bigpod and I's point of view, that's called advertising
Yes.
rather than recommendations. Yeah, so that's how it is. But anyways, Bigpod, if our wonderful audience has some inputs on us talking about like our financial struggles up front like this, how should they do that?
There is the best way.
Oh,
It's an email address, contact@taxbase.com.
you mean the
But there is,
first initial federated internet service available to us?
yes, exactly.
Right, so there's no like big giant tech conglomerate behind it. I mean, there's like three really big
Yeah.
ones, but realistically, we
Yeah.
don't need any of them to send an email.
Yeah, we don't need anyone. All you need is realistically, all you need is a console with telnet. If
that
you really wanna send the old school way, the manual way.
that's true. That's true. But of course, if they also want to talk to each other, we do have a Discord because that's just where all the
Y-
cool kids are.
Yeah, the if you're more modern and
Yeah.
you like to use instant messaging, uh, taxbase.com/discord will lead you to No Tax Allowed Discord channel. And at this point, right now, if you or company or your company or any company you know of would like to support us directly by sponsoring, here we would mention them and how great the service is if it is actually great.
Well, that and because we also post on YouTube, YouTube also mandates that we tell you that that show's like sponsored. So yes, we would say that at
Yes,
the very start of the
and your
show.
and your country mandates it as well.
For some stupid reason, but only for online content creation.
Yes. Well, now that we are through that, let's go on to the topics we picked for you. So let's start with the first one.
Yeah, the first one. Okay, first of all, Bleeping Computer. Great website. You post way too fucking much. Sorry. You post way too much. You spam my RSS reader, so I don't. That's why I don't really reference you a whole lot. And also, you're very security focused. But this was actually an interesting headline that caught my eye, and then got reading into it, and I'm like, oh, that could actually be a thing. So, Bleeping Computer posted this article called "Mozilla warns Germany could soon declare ad blockers as illegal,"
Huh.
which got me looking at it and like, oh, what's going on here? Because Bleeping Computer is, at least like the RSS feed that I'm subscribed to, is more like for like cyber security issues. At least
Yeah.
what I've seen, rather than just general technology discussion, which this more or less is. But at the same time, I know that like the FBI, for example, recommends that you install an ad blocker on your internet browser. So
Yeah,
there
but
there are some
they don't.
security excuses here.
Yeah, but they don't do it for the reason or against the reason Germany here is talking about. It isn't about security or anything like that. It's about copyright
Yeah,
because the question is before Germany's federal support Supreme Court BGH. Don't ask me to pronounce the full name because I'm just gonna butcher it. I don't speak German, at least not very well. But the 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 legal battle is over whether browser-based ad blockers infringe copyright, which, well, depending on how you define copyright, possibly.
yeah, and they're specifically saying that the HTML and CSS that the website is written in is protected under copyright law. This is
Which,
their argument.
yes,
Which,
technically speaking, it is.
yeah. Now, so the court case that we're talking about is Axel Springer versus IO. Which, if you don't know who IO is, they're the people that make the AdBlock Plus extension that you probably don't have installed anymore because AdGuard is just better. But some people are just using AdBlock Plus for some reason. But anyways, that was like the very first big browser extension that people were just installing for like blocking ads. And this court case has been going on for a little while now, anyways, which I didn't know until I actually read this article. But the idea is that the way that the ad blocker is modifying the website's HTML and CSS as is delivered from the web server to your computer. It's intercepting that and removing the links that point to the ads.
Yeah.
And because of that, that's copyright infringement.
Yeah, actually that has, in my opinion, as a legal guy, I don't do
Yeah,
law
yeah.
as a
First of all,
profession or
disclaimer:
as
neither
anything.
of us are lawyers, whether it be U.S., Slovenian, or even German certified. We're not lawyers. We're just
Yeah,
literally
we're
just
not
two
lawyers.
dudes talking in our bedrooms.
Yeah. So, but from my understanding of copyright, yeah, technically speaking, this This explanation has some amount of merit. It is changing something that, by all accounts, shouldn't be changed because it's copyrighted. The fact that it is in your browser and you can see it doesn't change the fact that it's copyrighted. Remember that. And the same goes for example, when you see on GitHub uh, a repo without a license, you may just as well go away from it because that thing is fully copyright, all rights reserved. Technically speaking, you shouldn't even read it.
Yeah, at the
For the best case scenario,
yeah, the best case
better
scenario.
safe than sorry style.
And this is because it's generally regarded in a majority of countries, basically across like the more developed world, is that if you just
Western countries,
if you write something,
it's automatically
yeah,
copyrighted to you with default license or with no license at all, which is okay. Technically speaking, there isn't actually a license
it
because
basically
license is what you allow other people to do. So
it's all rights
your
reserved.
your you have all rights reserved. Then you give other rights. So that's why a license exists. License is essentially a document that tells you what you can and cannot do with the attached content.
Yeah, and that's why they call it copyright. Of course,
Yes.
we could talk about the copyleft philosophy, which is like this but different, rather than
Well,
the
copyleft philosophy is essentially taking copyright and taking copyright law
and flipping it backwards.
and applying a license that allows you to do things.
Well, really, the
Even
idea,
if you are a
yeah,
copyleft guy, automatically, if you do not add a license, you're still doing copyright. You're still having copyright on a specific copyright,
yeah, and
which is all right reserved essentially.
you just vocalizing the license of your software is just like, hey, our show is Creative Commons. It's that doesn't actually
Yeah, doesn't
work.
necessarily.
Has to be written.
Not necessarily. You have to actually have it like an actual license,
Yep.
a document people can reference,
Yeah.
and depending on what kind of content it is, it might be multiple licenses.
It very well could be. It also depends
Yeah.
on where it's published.
So in this case, actually, I do believe there are actually multiple licenses involved.
Yeah. So, anyways, first of all, ad blockers. Uh, obviously, Bigpod. We're you and I, even though we're not like super big and popular, we are at the end of the day, content creators.
Yeah.
We develop this content, and at least one of us gets paid for it.
Yeah.
So, uh, we do have opinions on ad blockers that might be different than yours. But first of all, I'm going to let everybody know I do have an ad blocker enabled and running on my session right now.
I do not.
You do not. Okay.
No.
Now, obviously, some websites are just pure fucking cancer. The main reason why I just use an ad blocker is because it makes my internet faster. That's really the
Yeah.
reason. It's not because I don't
Well,
want to see the ads. I actually want to support the websites to some extent.
honestly, like, I don't have that much of a problem with speed of sites, which is also probably the main reason I'm not using an ad blocker. Because that's the only reason I would be using it. If it was like overly speed
Well, you see,
speed hit by the ads.
it turns out that when you're using a DSL connection and your internet downstream bandwidth is 517 kilobits per second, uh,
Yeah.
the ads take up a massive amount of traffic, and it's better just to not have them.
Yeah, and for the other stuff, like the I don't care about that. Like just for a pure example, right now I'm watching the article we're talking about. Honestly, I noticed ads because I was looking for them,
Yep.
not because I noticed them. I just don't notice them.
That and this website, they do ads more or less what I consider the right way. There's a right way and a wrong way. Like I don't want to open up like a written text article and be served a full screen video ad that I can't click out of until I'm done watching the ad. I mean, that's just when I get up and walk away from the computer, or just leave the website, because that is a thing that does happen. But I have scrolled down and I read a couple of the comments here because Bleeping Computer does have a comment section, and a couple of people do mention that there are security risks with internet advertising too. This so-called
Yeah,
malvertising, which is like the main reason why like these government agencies also recommend that you use AdBlock, because it turns out
yeah,
that malware delivered via advertising that is then going through an exploit that's available on your web browser because either your browser's not up to date or the exploit hasn't been fixed yet, is the number one source of breaches for security and privacy.
yes. But
So
that is more or less the problem with ad providers more than actually ads.
yeah, that that is true because I have received verified malware from Google AdSense before. Just
Yeah.
saying. Same thing with like Facebook's ad tracker and so on, or whatever other ad services are out there. I've only ever used Google or Facebook because I grew up with the post 2010 internet. So th- if AdBlock does get banned, obviously there's going to be community pushback to it. I could just
Of
see
course,
I,
there is.
I can just see that happening because that's one more thing that the average person has to deal with.
Yeah, but the reason it went to the federal federal Supreme Court is because they want to or the Axel Springer, this I don't know, is this individual or a it's a company.
Yeah, it's a company.
They want the court to re-examine whether DOM CSS bytecode count as protected computer program and whether these kind of modifications are lawful or not.
And that's a legitimate question.
Yeah,
Uh, so because if that is not copyright protected, then what's the point of proprietary software? And yes, there is a valid reason to have some software pieces as proprietary. I'm sorry.
yes, and let's be clear. Uh, it is also by this logic, if it wasn't protected computer program, anybody could take a compiled piece of software and essentially do whatever, uh, open it up and then redistribute whatever came out of it.
Or
Which,
find more
yeah,
vulnerabilities and exploit them. Or
well, that is not a problem. That
yeah,
they already do that, but
well yeah,
they could just open the program up, recompile it, and technically have a completely separate not covered by any kind of problems, so they can reproduce it, sell it, or whatever. Which, again, whatever you think, that is a bad idea, especially like because at the end of the day, honestly, these companies need to make money. That's how they pay their software engineers,
yeah.
those who make the program. So that's the problem.
Yeah, and that is a thing that I've had to ask some people that I've spoken with, because they would comment, all proprietary software is bad. You should use exclusively free and open source software whenever you can. And I'm like, well, yes, I agree with you. You should probably look and experiment with free and open source software and figure out that it works for you. But at the end of the day, we see this constant issue where with these open source software developers having issues with living because
Yes.
nobody's compensating them for the definitely not easy work some of them are doing. In fact, a lot of them
And
are.
they are basically burning themselves out for what is essentially
Yeah.
you,
Uh.
you and your moral quandary.
Yeah. That.
Nothing else. That's exactly what it is. If if I could with my open source contribution go to the store and buy milk, that would be great. Sorry, it doesn't world doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I mean, and it's an unfortunate truth. We've discussed like the funding issues before. Uh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see. I'll have to see if I can find like the episode number and at least put it in the show notes for you guys, where we do have that discussion because it's a real problem. But
and that funding problem is the core issue of copyright. Even the exact same question is the core issue why copyright exists.
yeah,
Copyright wouldn't be needed if, and for that matter, DRM and many things wouldn't be needed if everybody would be willing to pay for whatever they use, no matter, no, even if they got the distribution for free.
yeah.
But that's not how things work in real world. People want to get around paying for things. I get it. I don't pay for every piece of open source software I use. I don't send money to every library maker, every software maker
Well,
whose software I use.
think of it this way, right? At one point, I decided I was going to figure out every single piece of software that I could use, or that I use on a daily basis, and just donate $1, wherever I can.
Yeah,
And first of all, just how many components exist in like the
yeah,
GNU Core Util stack?
yeah,
There's a lot of people involved in that, and that came out to not be exactly what I would call affordable.
yeah,
Just with like that, I mean, it's a brilliant idea. I would donate $1 to the developer of every single piece of software, but I can't really do that. I do pledge $25 a month that I just toss to various projects. So and because I can justify that because it's $25. So I mean, it's basically pocket change, but it's better than nothing. And yes, I could toss more in there, but at some point I need to buy like more Warhammer models for my ever growing pile of shame.
yeah. And
But
one thing that is very clear, like I've said this multiple times, but I think we do need to a bit uh and smallen the space we live in when it comes to software. I'm not say I think problem is that everyone who builds something is just an individual on its own.
yeah,
If friends, acquaintances from internet banded together, created, let's call them foundations, that those kind of foundations would allow for much easier donation. So why couldn't, let's say, I donate to, I don't know, uh just for
I mean, donate to the Gnome Foundation. That way,
yeah,
and then let them figure out how to pay the Gnome developers.
or for
Don't.
example, uh pay, I don't know, foundation XYZ, which then contains projects from 10 different developers.
Yeah,
All 10 would get a piece of the pie, and that's the big thing that we need to we need to start thinking about
that
changing.
that too. Like you Linux and BSD users out there, be willing to donate upstream to your distribution too, because the distributions don't make nearly as much money as the individual software developers that actually make money do.
Yeah.
So
Every single piece of the stack
yeah,
matters.
every
Not just the program you're using, not just the distro you're using, the libraries which are actually the most on hit by this because who thinks about the library besides the developers?
right. I mean, we found that out with the XZ utilities.
Yeah. Well, uh, now let's go from talking about giving money to open source projects to big companies and investment firms giving money to big companies.
Uh,
So, uh, so Softbank, a Japanese conglomerate, has said and apparently agreed to make an investment in Intel to the tune of $2 billion US, not Canadian or Australian to be specific, US dollars.
and I kind of just figured that if I ever talk about like a dollar to somebody, everybody just automatically assumes to talk about the American dollar.
Yeah, but there are many dollars out there.
That's
Well,
true.
and this is a very interesting deal in my opinion because based on our quick napkin math, this is about 1/3 of SoftBank stock, as they will be paying $23 per share of Intel common stock,
Which,
and
w- which
that's
we ran some numbers.
probably a third.
Yeah. So, uh, how we came up with the with the 1/3 number is that $23 per share at $2 billion equates to just a little under 87 million shares. Now, the total volume of shares for Intel is 273 million. Now, you can find that on Nasdaq, by the way. The Nasdaq website. Just look up Intel stock. It'll give you. You gotta scroll down to the little chart, and you want to look at the volume. That's the total number of shares that Intel has available on the stock market. That's how you know. So that's how we came up. That's like napkin math 1/3. It might be. I'm because I'm just assuming that. But at this time, Intel's currently trading for like $25-ish. So SoftBank is saving quite a bit of money buying this many shares at 23. Which,
Yeah,
hey, that's fine. Now, SoftBank does own a couple other companies because that's just what SoftBank does. It's basically like a private equity firm, and
yeah,
they buy
investment
companies.
fund
Yeah,
essentially.
they just invest in all these companies. They do own ARM.
Yes,
Uh, I can't immediately think of like
which
what else they own, but they do own ARM. So this kind of makes
yeah,
this kind of makes me wonder: are they going to like push Intel to be making ARM chips now?
let's be clear. Even today already, Intel owns basically not a contract that allows them to build whatever ARM CPU they want, however they want,
Yeah.
if it contains the basic ARM set. So basically, it's a similar contract to how Apple can create their Apple Apple Silicon Mac chips, the M1, M2, M4, by whatever number we are today. So they can do whatever they want. They can make their own cores, which unlike some other companies, they actually have to use ARM designed cores, which is in some cases better because more compatibility, but in other cases it just doesn't matter for the compatibility. But the reason SoftBank decided to, or at least what they said, they decided to invest into Intel is that it's a strategic investment reflecting their belief that advanced semiconductor manufacturing and supply will further expand in the US, with Intel being one of the biggest, most crucial players. Because
So,
remember,
uh,
Intel is a US company and has some manufacturing in US,
yeah,
but not
like
all.
actual chip and silicone wafer manufacturing here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So you're probably thinking this is because of tariffs. because that is a thing that we have to talk about here in this conversation too. Because turns out that if you don't want to be dealing with like the tariffs in the United States, you just make the things in the U.S. And who's the only company in the U.S. that owns like a full stack for making some kind of a CPU?
Yeah, Foundry.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's Intel, the only one. Now,
I mean,
interesting thing
I
is,
think Texas Instruments owns a foundry too, but
yes, but
Intel's the
we're
main
not
one.
talking at the
Yeah,
same level. We're
yeah.
not talking at the same level. We have like, yeah, Texas Instruments probably owns something like 30, 40, 50, somewhere there nanometer. Maybe even 20. 24, I believe, is the most normal one in that range. But they don't own 15, 14, and lower nanometer in going into the angstrom level. But it is important to know that Intel is now in midst of restructuring, which they want to they streamline their semiconductor business, including their foundry business. And if I remember correctly, some of the things they actually sell now are actually not produced in house,
That
but they're
is
produced
true.
by TSMC, which is like incredibly weird and funny to me because, well, Intel is or was in big competition with TSMC, who can get smallest uh, lithography.
Well, that was it. I believe it came around to like a rather large shareholder coming around and saying that, talking to Intel because Intel was running into like these production issues with I think it
Yeah,
was the 10th or 11th gen CPU that they were having production issues with, where this
yeah,
where like investors just said, "Oh, we should just contract TSMC to make this stuff,"
yeah. Well,
which this is probably a result of that though. Now that
yeah,
now that we've moved past on that a few years. Uh, that said, with this restructuring, Intel has like shut down some segments of its business, like the automotive architecture business, and they've they've also reduced like the Intel Foundry division workforce a little bit too,
which is that
which
chip making business. Let's be clear, that's the chip making
yeah,
part.
that is the chip making part. So maybe this might lead them to go the other direction on that. Who knows?
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Maybe SoftBank is banking on them
Maybe.
making chips for ARM,
Very possible. It could also be,
even for others, especially not for them, but for others. You know,
yeah, because it turns out that Intel doesn't sell enough chips themselves to keep some of these foundries running, so they do contract out to
yeah,
these other companies. So
yeah,
and that's just a fact of business. Like I worked in in manufacturing quite a bit myself too with a company that had a brand that it made products for, but it didn't sell enough volume to pay for all the fancy plastic injection molding machines that we happen to have. So we would just contract out machine time to like these other companies. That's how manufacturing works.
that's how everything works. If I go back to the best podcast in the world and its infrastructure, we most definitely don't use enough resources for what we have.
Yeah.
So we are willing to take on customers who would wanna host with us their podcast. We have none, but you're welcome
Are you
to
sure we
send
have
us an
none?
email. Yeah.
Because
Well,
I've got
we're on our own customer,
that's true.
and
That's
that's
true.
it.
That's true. Anyways, I think we've exhausted that topic right there. Let's talk about cars.
Yeah. We before we do that, it's important to know that all of this came right on the heels of Trump administration adding new or threatening with new tariffs on imported semiconductor chips. But I would like to say that this has no connection probably because
So
these kind of deals take weeks if not months, to iron out.
I mean, the
Not
big smoking gun
two,
for
3 days.
the big smoking gun for like proof of that statement is the fact that we have a financial number.
Yes, and there is an agreement,
Uh,
not
they
an inquiry
they've probably been
or a
talking about this for months.
yes, months on months. And it is also kind of good to know that the current CEO has been under fire by certain individuals
Yep.
who have been calling for his resignation due to conflict of interest, due to bad management.
Bad
Well,
management, and he owns some shares in Chinese companies.
yes. Well, personally, I'm still a bit salty that they let go of the previous CEO, who I think was steering the ship right. He just didn't have enough time
Not only was
to
he,
get
yeah,
to the point.
not only was he steering, do I think that he was steering the ship in the correct direction? I was legitimately excited for the things that he was having in Tokyo.
Yes, yes.
Like,
You could see that he knew what he was doing. He was is important to know that I did like him just because of the fact that he was an engineer leading what is essentially an engineering company. But as Josh said, we could probably move on to
yeah.
our next topic, which is cars and the issues the companies making them might be facing in the future. Future could be really soon or could be far away.
All right. So, Bigpod.
Hopefully for them, as far away as possible.
Now, first of all, we're not a car podcast. Sorry.
Yes.
We could pretend to be one for about the next 10 or so minutes, though, if you really want us to.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally am a big fan of the steering wheel controls on my CRV. In fact, I got distracted because Big Pod got talking about the Android Auto and CarPlay, and I did ask him a couple questions about it. Then immediately, well, before we hit the record button here, I did spend like $420 on a new car radio.
Oh, you actually spent it.
Yeah, I actually bought it.
Okay, okay. I thought you were just planning to buy it. Oh,
Yeah,
great. Yeah. And on other hand, I don't drive a car.
yeah, but you
I,
probably have a
I
favorite car though.
yes.
Yeah,
Or I don't have a favorite car. I have a favorite brand.
well, favorite
Like,
brand, yeah.
uh, it's a European brand, Renault,
Yeah, Renault. I mean,
French,
I could.
which is the only French thing I can stomach.
I mean, that's true
That
because
for all French listeners and everybody else, that was a joke. It's a joke only Europeans will understand.
I understand it a little bit because well, you also had to explain some of it to me too. But anyways, besides talking about like the only thing that French is good for, well, I mean, there's another thing, but we're not going to talk about that either. Uh, I I'm a big fan of the classic OBS Ford trucks because they're just practical and that's all the vehicle that you really need as a working class American. Specifically like one that works in like the fields that I tend to like accidentally find myself working in, where I can justify buying the truck rather than otherwise I would just drive a small car. But I currently daily drive a Honda CRV that was made 20 years ago. So if you need some idea as to what I'm driving around now, and yeah, it's about as modern of a vehicle as I'm really wanting to buy. But anyways, let's talk about this article here because it's not necessarily news, but it's more of a discussion piece. Because Wired doesn't really talk about news very often. They just discuss things because that's how the news is done nowadays. It's a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's led to some issues. But anyways, they start off here with the CEO of Stellantis, Carlos Tavares.
Important to note, Stellantis is Belgium,
Yeah. Oh,
not French. Important to note.
that is true.
I
That
think
is
it's
true.
Belgian.
What? Anyways, in 2022. he took a moment to explain the vision for like the Stellantis brands of Fiat,
No,
Peugeot.
I was wrong. It's Dutch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in that part of the world.
Yeah, well, he was talking about his future of the future of Stellantis brands. You know, Fiat, Peugeot, Maserati, Ram, and Opel. Where
Yeah,
he said that hey, uh, by 2030, all cars are going to be electric vehicles only, and they will be sold from manufacturer direct to consumer in
yeah.
all
The
markets.
the Tesla model
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, the Tesla model. And he also said that cars would have features that are locked behind subscriptions.
Yeah,
Because if you
some
rather than
brands already want to do that.
yeah, some brands already want to do that. Like BMW, I know has like a subscription for heated seats,
Yeah,
which I think is just stupid. But
it's
the
stupid, but I do get why that kind of subscription feature is
hey,
actually like what they want, and it isn't just money. It's or like the money you get from subscription,
it's the
which there is actually a good reason to have subscriptions.
and of course
It's the regular revenue, but the catch is you only have to build a seat with warmer inside, which means cheaper costs to build the seat,
yeah.
which could, in theory, if markets were okay with it and shareholder value was okay with it, could translate in slightly lower prices.
Uh, Potentially, but probably not because price memory is also a thing. But so the idea of the reason why it's cheaper cost is once again we have to talk about my experience in manufacturing. We're talking about SKUs, SKU. Uh, so a seat with a built-in heater and a seat without a built-in heater are two different SKUs. When it comes to
Yes,
manufacturing, now that's basically two different methods of assembly for like making the seat. Which means then you have to have staff that are trained enough to understand this seat takes a
the
heater, this
difference.
seat does not take a heater.
Yes, and not just that. That means double the spacing in the warehouse,
Double the
double
spacing in
the
the
double
warehouse, added tax on keeping that warehouse organized so you
yeah
know where each individual piece is, as well as logistics.
documentation,
Yep.
which now has to be double the internal documents or internal writings that
Yeah.
need to happen for the fact that it's like see that has one difference,
Yeah.
which is essentially a coil and a cable.
Yeah.
I know it's not that easy for seat warmer because otherwise it would go up in flames. But that's the gist of it. It's a coil and a cable.
Yeah, it's just a resistive heater. It's the same thing as your
Yes,
standard electric heater. But that's why it could
but do
actually
not
lead.
make it at home.
Yeah, and that's ultimately why it could lead to a cheaper cost to for Stellantis the company. That said, of course, 3 years later, the CEO's gone. The company makes
Yeah,
no profit whatsoever, and
yeah, but
they might be
I'm not
and
sure that's the company's fault. That's just
yeah,
car market being horrible, and like the big problem for car market in general is the fact that you have a huge resale value.
yeah.
A
So
car a car is on the road 20 years, and which actually made sense by the idea of that people will start changing their cars to electric. It would make sense. They would make a lot of money, as well as Tesla, as well as everybody else in the car maker
yeah,
space.
because
But it doesn't work if people aren't switching to electric cars.
yeah,
That's the
because
problem.
there is the fundamental truth that electric drivetrain systems are just more reliable than internal combustion.
Yes,
Because the
that is true.
yeah, because
But there is that heartfelt. I need an ICE car because sound, because that's what we're used to.
yeah, that said, I personally find like most EVs I've ever driven to be incredibly boring to drive.
Yes, that's the thing. They're boring to drive because they like there is because they are they are the shall I say pinnacle of engineering, because there is no no slow speed up. There is just power goes in. There is no sound. There is they are better machines, but sadly that also makes them much less exciting for people to drive, for people to honestly go watch and look at on the street, because you look at a car that goes woof right beside you.
I
You
mean,
don't look at the car that goes right beside you. That was silence for everybody.
yeah. I live in a resort town basically, and they had a big car show here recently. And honestly, just listening to those old cars just idle right by on a parade was just exciting. Uh, some there were a couple of them where they were those old big American V8s, and you could almost feel the rumble out of the exhaust in like your chest and everything. Is It's a primal feeling, and I understand that. But anyways, so to give the context of a bit of a timeline here for what's going on with the auto industry in general on a global scale. So 2022, when the statement was made, was basically just after COVID, somewhere
Yeah, I
around there,
guess.
and with the pandemic lockdowns happening, we had the supply chain constraints. All the auto industry companies, they were making
Yeah.
big money because they were dealing with a lot of customers who were dealing with fear of missing with what I call FOMO issues, or fear of missing out, because they wanted to buy the latest greatest model, but the latest greatest model was dealing with production issues, so you weren't able to get too many.
Yeah.
These car companies weren't able to get too many fully assembled cars out to the dealer parking lot. So of course that led, with the high demand, gave meant that you could charge a high incentive to purchase.
To
So
to buy,
the
you
price went
can
up.
you can price them a lot higher
Yeah,
if there is high demand. That's basic market dynamics.
yeah, it's basic market dynamics, but it is a thing that actually happened. And
Yeah.
now that the supply chain issues have more or less basically resolved themselves, and now realistically we're just dealing with more political issues than actual physical issues of moving crap around the world. Uh, so basically, what we had like 10 years ago, we're basically now to the point where it's just like these automakers, they can't demand those super high prices, which means nobody's really buying the cars at the super high prices, so prices are getting negotiated down. So the companies aren't making nearly as much money as they were, and it turns out that's just not how businesses are ran these days, because line's always supposed to go up; it should never go down, presumably. So that's probably why Carlos is not working for Stellantis anymore.
Yeah.
But there's also another issue as well, and that is China. It turns out
Yeah.
that you can actually get some good stuff made in China. And
Yeah.
China not only controls battery production, but because of that, they also have a rather thriving market for these electric vehicles. And I'm sure you've heard about the cheap Chinese electric vehicles. Well, they've also got some not cheap ones that are actually pretty compelling buys for some people as well.
Yeah.
So, and if you're reading these news articles about what these company CEOs are saying, they're always talking about the Chinese EVs, because it turns out these Chinese cars are pretty good, and because of that, people are actually buying them.
Yeah. And today there is another problem on, well, already past the horizon. We already went past it. The so called tariffs.
Yes, there's
They're not
that
really
too.
so-called. They're just actual tariffs by US,
Yeah,
where many of the companies are getting hit quite hard by them,
yeah, because
including companies like Porsche, Porsche, which apparently even the CEO's memo to the employees tells them that uh, basically that's a problem as it is. Well, you can sell a lot harder in US with such increase in pricing.
Yeah, it's basically just and the there's the other thing of where like these Chinese EVs, they've iterated fast to get them where
Yeah,
they are nowadays too. They really were just gi- pieces of junk that you could buy for like $1,000. They would just fall apart within like a couple days. But they've iterated fast enough that basically they've either met or exceeded the quality of like a lot of the other comparable cars that these other more long established non Chinese companies, like Aston Martin, Bentley, and yes, we're talking about the high end cars. Uh, they're even concerned about it.
of
So,
course.
uh, because it turns out, and I don't really see a lot of these Chinese cars here in the U.S. because, well, chicken tax exists, which makes everything a bit stupid. But I've seen like the videos of these Chinese cars, and honestly, like if I was gonna buy an EV, I kind of want one. So, uh, right, but even then, like this house that I live in, I literally cannot buy an EV for a house because then I had to rewire the entire house because of code issues. So, buying an EV, I spend more in fixing the house than I do the EV just to buy the EV. So, that's why I don't drive one. It has been a thing, and with this fast iteration, the average car goes through like a 5 year development process because that's not only like somebody just drawing a picture of the car, but that's engineering, the manufacturing of the car, compliance certification, because every single country that a car is sold in has its own set of rules of regulations
Yeah,
on how to build a car, and they've got to meet those. So they've got to go through that. They've got to get stuff signed off too, which involves government, and government always slows things down. With good reason most of the time. But these Chinese cars are putting a claim on quite a bit of the markets. Like 5% of the European market. We got 10% showing in Latin America, and uh, you know in China alone, the sales of these EVs are up 65%, which is rather impressive because I don't think we've seen any other country that has seen like the same increase for like EV sales compared to internal combustion engines. I think maybe the more northern nations in Europe have a higher on average sale rate of electric vehicles, but I might be wrong on that as well. It's been a while since I really paid attention to the new car market. But just that that issue is and because so, let me formulate words here.
words are hard sometimes, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna put in some filler and let Josh think about what he was trying to say. I I think we're close to loading being done, so let's check in if Josh has finally loaded the correct speech for us.
Okay, so at the end of the day, the with the rapid pace of innovation, basically, you know, the other companies just can't keep up, and they we've even had statements from some of these CEOs come out and say, "Hey, our old business model, which has served us for decades, even for some of us a century, just doesn't work anymore."
Yeah.
So there are quite a few of them that are just like looking at this idea of, hey, these cars that spend an average amount of time on the road for about 20 or so years. Uh, if customers just paid a subscription for like working heated seats for 20 years, the car not only paid for itself in manufacturing, but we've probably made probably 5 to 6 times at least the cost of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So,
But it would,
but
in some sense, if we actually think about it, if a car platform, let's call it a car platform, could be extremely cheap
it could
because
be.
basically it's stamped essentially on the production line. Just maybe the color is different and that's it. And even that could be standardized to few colors. Then you can go to your closest auto body shop and they paint it for you whatever color you want. But that has legal implications of how countries handle different colors for cars. But if basically every car was the same, price could get a lot lower. And if you could have either one-time purchases or subscription purchases for only the features you want, yeah, if by, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years of ownership, you came to the same amount you would pay today, that would make sense. Problem is, you cannot get that car platform to that low of a price for it to make sense. Because for the cheaper cars, it would need to be in couple of thousands of dollars or euros maximum. We're not talking because like uh, a Clio, I know Renaults mostly. Clio is like around 10, 12K. You you will not be able to strip it down or to build everything in it and get it to be 3,000-4,000 euros. That doesn't make sense unless they think of the same model as printers, as as gaming consoles sell. So basically, sell at a loss,
Yeah.
and then hope you're gonna get your money back by the user checking specific boxes for what they want. I don't know,
Now,
Android Auto.
here
I don't know,
here
heated seats or whatever.
here's a
But
fun fact for you, Big Pod. Though,
here is a
even the
fun
idea
fact
of
apparently.
yeah, even the subscription model is potentially at risk here too. Because guess what China's
Yeah,
also doing? You know that fancy map integration you get on your dash for like the Google Maps and everything.
yeah,
Some of these Chinese brands are just making that free. Same
yeah,
same thing with like the ability to lock and unlock your car with an app on your phone. That's free. Heated seats. Yeah, that's free. Uh, so
yeah,
uh, I think that's going to be it's going to continue to be an issue. And of course, when asked, is like, is there even an idea as to like long term plans? A lot of these CEO companies are just like, we don't know what we're gonna do. Which I'm certain that's a good thing to say for like shareholder confidence at the very
yeah.
least.
For shareholder value.
Yeah, uh, that's a good wonderful thing. So, Big Pod, I think you and I have probably talked quite a bit today.
Yeah,
So I think,
but we still have one more thing to talk about.
oh, do we? Do we? Oh,
Yeah,
that's right. We're doing this challenge thing
there
on.
is
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
for those of you who do not know, both of us are doing distro challenges, and we are coming up to the finish line, and I do have some problems, as you have probably seen if you're watching YouTube, and maybe if audio isn't up to snuff on my part. Well, recordings get a bit hairy with Gento because apparently hardware encoding is working but isn't working at the same time. It's amazing. So, for the second to last check in with this current challenge, let's let's check out that I'm still installed with Gentoo. Fast fetch. And look, there is a few more. There is one more package installed in the merch section of packages.
Oh,
Now everything else is the same. It's the same laptop. Josh, what about you and your horrible Slackware?
so I still don't like Slackware, to be honest with you. But Slackware's led me into an interesting space because it turns out that this week, hey, when terminal opens on the correct screen here. Okay, here I'll just drag it over. Okay. I still have Slackware installed. Yes, that is much the truth. But the big issue that I had with Slackware is I kind of just forgot that I was using Slackware.
Yeah.
I mean, that was until I decided I was going to run a system update, which then oh yeah, that's right, I'm using Slackware. Because it's 3 different commands just to update the system.
Well, we since this is second to last week of our challenge, we've already been talking about a new challenge, one that we both get to do the same distro. We're not still haven't decided on what distro. The current idea is Arch, which neither of us is exactly a biggest fan of because well, they do bad packaging and I just kinda hate it because it's all a bit jank. And at this point, I think we can start wrapping things up because I think I have a great tie-in. As those of you who listen to the podcast long time, you know I have a YouTube channel and I sometimes stream. Well, last time I streamed about making a package repository for Arch Linux. So, yeah, that's that's the tie-in.
Yeah, maybe we should put a link to that stream in the show notes. That way, our podcast listeners can give that at least a watch.
Yeah,
That said,
and
it
like
it is
the
an
reason I want to
experience.
make that repository before we go further is because sooner or later we would be doing Arch, and I think both of us will be doing a lot of packaging.
Well, I've said
So
this multiple
maybe at
times.
least
I
split the load.
I've mentioned this multiple times, but if I ever daily drove Arch Linux, I would just make a package repository and I would call it core dash fixed or community dash fixed because it turns out that your distro that advertises that all the packages are vanilla. Oftentimes packages as with modifications that make them no
Yeah,
longer classified as vanilla. So,
yeah,
and the running joke is that every single package that you install from this repository is going to be like OBS-Studio-fixed.
yeah. And well, I want to make hosting a lot easier, but because it's Arch, it's all jank and
Yeah,
it's been a hard time. I need to get a new stream up and running so I can finally make the software so we can make a great repository that we can we can publish, and you could rent a space on our server for your own repository.
oh, potentially,
Yes,
potentially.
potentially.
Uh,
It's business still up in. We're still trying to find good business ideas, so that's one of them.
that is one of them. So, anyways, guys, we'll see you next week when we wrap up this stupid challenge and we both figure out how to install Arch Linux because heaven forbid I don't like the Arch install script. I'll
Well,
see ya.